Okay, this is a quick how-to video on the pool house. So first thing you're going to want to do is come in here, check everything. I usually look inside here, make sure that there's not a bunch of debris. We'll get to that in just a minute. First things first, we're going to come over here to the breaker box. And we're going to actually shut it off on the breaker. It's where this one where it says pool pump. It's these two here that go off together. All right. And then the first thing I'm going to do is take this off and empty it. So, real quick and easy. It's tight, so just turn it a little bit at a time. Don't need to rush. Now, one thing this is going to do is going to let air into the system. So we'll definitely need to backwash it first before we do anything else, because you don't want to let dirty water into the pool. And I'll show you that in a second here. All right, so there's some good stuff in there, so just throw it out here. One thing to note that I did get the gasket off the top here, so I need to make sure that gets back on there. Looks like I pulled it out. So give me a second here and I'll get this back on. I think I pulled it out. Where's the lid? There it is. That's sitting right there at the top. Okay. I'm sure to try and pull as much of the debris out of there as possible. Okay. And then line the hole back up. See, there's a hole right there. It needs to be on that side. And then you just screw it back on until you get it hand tight. Then you grab the little wrench and then just turn it. Okay, I'll just leave that there. I just turn it till, you know, it's fairly tight and it won't turn anymore. Then the first thing we're going to do after we empty that is we're going to turn this to backwash. So you're going to lift it, flip it all the way around until it locks in there on backwash. Then we're going to turn it on. So right now it's kind of empty, so it's just bringing in air. The other thing is to make sure these are all straight up and down, like this. Okay. So they all should look like that while we're backwashing the pool. And we'll come back. Actually, I'll show you right out the window here. You see over the engine here, there's a window. In just a few minutes, you're going to look out the window and you'll see water pouring out the pipe, and that's backwashing. It's taking all the water and it's cleaning the inside of the sand filter. I'm actually going to walk out here and show you where all that's at. It should start coming out here in a second. The reason we backwash it first is because it's going to start pushing all the dirty water through the filter. And even if you get air in the system, you don't want it to go back into the pool first, because it'll put dirty water into the pool before you even backwash it. You can see that water started off clear, but it actually got cloudy. So right now that's cloudy water. It'll clear up in just a second, and that's when we turn it off and we go to rinse. So remember, the first thing we're going to do after we clean out this little filter here is we're going to backwash it. And then on the back here, there's a little thing, And it's actually cloudy right now, so you can see when it gets clear. We're gonna give it just another second. But the other thing we wanna watch for is we wanna make sure the water level stays right above the second screw from the bottom. It needs to be above that second screw. Right now it's actually above the third, which is perfect. We'll actually drain it down to the top of the third screw, and we'll have plenty of water in the pool. And then we're gonna go to the vacuum here in just a second. All right, let's check it out. Actually, we're looking fairly clear right about now. So I'm gonna actually shut that off here. So now that it's clear after being backwashed, and it doesn't take very long, so we're gonna shut it off. And then we're gonna quickly switch it to rinse and turn it back on. So now it's on rinse, and then we're gonna turn it on. And it's still technically throwing water out the side here, but now it's rinsing the sand in the sand filter. So now that water is going to be a little more clear, but what it's doing is it's pushing the sand back down to the bottom of the filter, so that way it's all compacted down and filters all the water. We're going to do that for just a few seconds here. All right, so now we're just going to check that filter. It's looking pretty good. It hasn't really been filtered in a minute, so we're just going to leave it on there for another second. I'm just going to watch that water level, and we're just about there. All right, so now I'm going to shut it off, and now I'm going to stick it straight over on the filter. So I just moved it up and I put it back on the filter here, and then I'm going to turn it back on. All right, now it's filtering. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the salt configuration, and it's showing we're at 3,500 right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 29. I'm going to go for 30 parts. Just want to check to make sure everything's good. We're going to use a test strip, and I'll show you that in just a little bit to make sure we have enough chlorine being produced by the salt cell. So I'll leave that on for a second. And then now we're going to get the pool ready. So behind the door, we have the hose, and it doesn't really need a whole lot of cleaning, but what we're going to do is, and then right here to the left as you walk in, is the actual little sucker dealing. All right, so we're actually gonna hook it up to this far one over here. So what I'm gonna do is connect the end of the hose to the little sucker, and then I'm gonna route it through the pump through the front after I put it in the water. And then I'm gonna hook it up, and it's gonna start sucking some air in there. And it's not actually gonna start working until after we shut off that one right there, which I'll show you in just a second. All right, give me just a second here. Hopefully this will kind of just show you where we're at. All right, take the end. It's got the weights on it, the yellow weights, and it goes on here. And then we're just gonna throw it in the pool. And now I'm gonna put it through the front. Take the basket out of here as well. All right, so I'm gonna take the top off. Oh, we're gonna take the basket out. Make sure we get everything we can out of there when we do it. Kind of flick this bee out of there. Looking a little dirty in there, but we're going to take this and route it through the front, and then try and get some water in the hose, get as much air out as possible before we start it. But so I'm just trying to get some water in there real quick, but you're going to get air. And And then we're just gonna squish it down onto that little vent, or the little hose thingy there. So now it's sucking water and air all at the same time, which is fine. We want it to get water in there first before we turn off the other side here. And then while we're doing that, we'll just take this and empty it out over the fence. Make sure it's nice and clean. Okay, you can actually hear the air going through the filter, so we want to wait till all of the air gets out before we turn the hose on. I'm just going to check that one real quick, and it's clean. So now we're going to go turn this one off, and it's the middle one, but we're going to go wait here and check and make sure all the air's out. And as you can see, the air is starting to come out of there right now. Just wait till it kind of finishes. We'll see it here in just a second. All right, looks like we got about all the air out. Another way to check is, as you'll see right here, you see that it's pushing bubbles out on the return valve here. Okay? Now we haven't turned the hose on, or the sucker on yet. So now we'll get ready to do that in just 1 second. Just making sure we get as much air out as possible. And we'll get a good start on this. All right, I think we got it. So to turn it on, we have to turn this middle valve off, but we can't do it while it's running. So we need to shut it off. Okay, it's off. Turn this, just like that. Okay, now that's off, and it's just the middle one. This is the main right here, and this is the one that's sucking with the sucker right here. Now we can turn this just a little bit, give it a little more pressure on the sucker, but we don't really want to turn it off if we don't have to. Then we'll turn it back on. All right, then we'll come out here, and you'll see that suckers are working. It's moving, it's a bumping right now. So really what I'm gonna do, there's not a whole lot of dirt in here, so I'm just gonna kinda take a broomstick handle, something that's soft and not gonna cut the pool liner. I'm gonna take the broomstick handle, and I'm actually just gonna guide it along the edges where you can see the dirt. There's basically just in the creases at the bottom of the pool. I'm gonna get as much visible dirt as possible, and then I'm gonna let it run for a few minutes. I'm gonna let it run for probably about a half hour, because there's still other dirt that's in there, but we're going to try and get the main dirt as possible. I'm not going to video any of this. One thing I'm going to just show you real quick. Once you're done and you guide this around, like I said, I'm going to take a broomstick handle, and I'm just going to take the end and just kind of push it along, and I'm just going to push it along the edges so it sucks it all up. And then after we're done, and I leave this on for about a half hour, we're gonna come back in here. We're gonna shut the pool off. We're gonna shut it off right there. We're gonna shut it off. We're gonna turn these so they're all facing straight up like that one is. That needs to be that way. That needs to be straight up, and that needs to be straight up. Once they're all straight up, we're gonna go turn the pump back on, and then we don't have to touch it again. Then we're gonna come out here. Then we're going to disconnect the hose. We're going to wrap everything up and put it back inside the pool house. And then we're going to take this strainer here, put it back in here. After we take the hose out, put it back in here, and then put the top back on. And that's literally about it. So like I said, right now I'm just going to guide this around, get all the dirt out of there. And then like I just said, I'm gonna go back inside, make sure everything's straight up and down. I'm gonna turn it off first because we don't wanna do it while it's on. It'll be hard to turn and have the possibility of breaking it because it's plastic. Then once I turn it off and get those straight up and down, I'm gonna turn the pool pump back on by the breaker, and we're good to go.